Ladies and gents, welcome back. For anyone who's hoping to see Justin Trudeau out of office anytime soon, a new coalition has squashed those chances, possibly until 2025. A quick look at the political landscape in Canada. We have the Conservative Party, which for you Americans is essentially like the Republican Party. We have the Liberals, which is run by Justin Trudeau and is in minority government until the news that we got today. The NDP is the other smaller party, which is left of left in Canada. And they, a lot of people in the last election voted for the NDP out of protest for what the Liberals were doing, not voting for Conservatives in that election, but voting for NDP, saying that they disagree with both the major political parties and just throwing their votes at the NDP, thinking it would possibly stifle the ability of the government to put things forward and get things, spend too much money, essentially. And, that was all squashed yesterday, with the new coalition between Jagmeet Singh of the NDP and Justin Trudeau of the Liberal Party. Canada's NDP agrees to support Trudeau's Liberals until 2025. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal minority government has reached a deal with the new Democratic Party to stay in power until 2025. In exchange, the Liberals will support left-leaning NDP on several parties' key priorities in Parliament. The move has been strongly criticized by Canada's Conservative Party, of course, because it leaves them in the fray. So essentially, they're saying it's not. It's not. Don't call it a coalition. Experts lay out history of Liberal NDP deal. NDP, let's just get into it. There's two of these guys in violent agreement. Have a look at them. There. The federal Liberals and New Democrats have brokered a pact that could see Trudeau staying in power until 2025 in exchange for pushing NDP-friendly policies. But while interim Conservative leader Candice Bergen slammed the Liberal NDP coalition as a backdoor socialism, experts say the agreement doesn't amount to a formal coalition, something Canada hasn't had since 1917. I think that's probably why she's calling it a backdoor deal. It's not formally a coalition, but essentially what for voters who actually support the NDP's platform, what you're going to get is the Liberals essentially putting things in name only, not actually letting them get away with, like letting them have their policies. And for people who definitely don't want liberal policies going through, they're going to get rammed through with the support of Jagmeet Singh. Now, this is in recent times. The Conservatives have been pushing for, grumbling about calling for an election. And in that case, in the current climate where Jagmeet Singh is not doing very well based on how he voted for the Emergencies Power Act and the Emergencies Act, the War Measures Act, it used to be called, and Justin Trudeau's handling of peaceful protests in Canada and going around the world saying how he feels about democracies falling apart, wouldn't do well in the polls today. And with the potential of an election coming up as soon as this summer, they join this alliance, essentially making it so they can stay in power until 2025. Here's Candice Bergen's talking about this on the floor of the Parliament.
Canadians woke up this morning and were shocked to learn when they have a new NDP Liberal government that is planning to spend and tax unlike anything we've seen before. Now things are starting to make sense. Now we understand why the NDP have been so eager to prop up the Liberals and their unethical behavior. It's because they have been cooking up a secret backroom deal. My question to the leader of the new NDP Liberal Party is this. When did he start these secret talks with his new Deputy Prime Minister, the member for Burnaby South? Was it before, during, or just after the last election?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
What this agreement means is in this time of uncertainty and pressures on Canadians, we're going to have predictability and an ability to focus on delivering the things that Canadians asked us all for collectively in the last election. More investments in housing, better support for families, help with the cost of living, growth for Canadians, the fight against climate change increased, and support on reconciliation. The toxicity and polarization that we'd seen in Parliament of the past is now an opportunity for us to deliver for Canadians, and that's what we shall do.
Now, before she goes on, the toxicity of these are all, and it's very frustrating to watch this as it goes on because it's essentially both sides bickering at each other about what they've done with the whole system. Now, we haven't seen very much support from the Conservatives as well as Canadians were protesting against measures, COVID-19 measures that the government, with no referendum, no democratic means instilled on Canadians and enforced on Canadians. So they've essentially been pretty much neutered as a party and haven't really done much. They lost their Conservative leader because he had no backbone. And now Candice Bergen, being the leader currently, she's just waiting for her seat to be taken by the next leader that comes up. She's the intern leader at the moment. But it's just ever so frustrating to watch these exchanges because it really is just these platitudes and it doesn't really help out Canadians. In this case, though, we have the NDP and the Liberals coming together to further spend our way into just national debt forever, essentially. We have here Scott Moe saying Canadians can't afford 3 more years of the federal government focused on ending pipeline projects, destroying jobs, and raising carbon taxes. Here's what he has to say.
It turns out the NDP have already picked out their new leader, Justin Trudeau. Last night, Jagmeet Singh signed the leadership of his party over to Trudeau by guaranteeing that he will keep the Liberals in power until 2025, no matter what. Mr. Speaker, the NDP just gave Trudeau the one thing that Canadian voters would not give him, a majority government. Mr. Speaker, that means 3 more years of the Trudeau NDP actively working against Western Canada. That means 3 more years of the Trudeau NDP blocking pipelines and killing jobs in this province. And that, Mr. Speaker, is also 3 more years of the Trudeau NDP increasing the carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, we already knew the NDP had sold its soul to the Liberals when they supported Trudeau's unjustified use of the Emergencies Act. But last night, they made it official, and they have become a wholly owned subsidiary of the Trudeau Liberals. Mr. Speaker, I hope all members of this House will join me in recognizing the new leader of the NDP, Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, so people asking, who is Jagmeet Singh when it comes to on the world stage? Because we know we have the global leaders these days, and of course, Jagmeet Singh here's his page on the World Economic Forum. So to see the two of them together, it's like seeing them at their Davos meeting together. It's like watching this all happen. We had someone asking on Twitter, can someone explain this Liberal-NDP coalition to me like I'm 5? Well, yeah, mom and dad aren't getting along because mom spent all our money. Now mom just got a girlfriend and has a gambling addiction and owes a few favors to the mob. Dad lives in the garage. Dad didn't have balls anyway. Anyway, that's all I had for you on this one this morning. Tune into the next video. We'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.